It's about time. Harry Potter. I have skimped on talking about Harry Potter on this channel, but since Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is coming out later this year, as well as the fact that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is getting a lot of people pumped right now is the perfect time to review every single Harry Potter movie. This is one of my favorite things I get to do on my channel. I love talking about older films leading up to a new one. I did it last year with the Star Wars reviews. That was tons of fun. I'm going to do it again right now with Harry Potter. Let's get excited. Let's build up my catalog of reviews and talk about each Harry Potter film, starting with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you're from. I have vivid memories of walking into the kitchen at my middle school, getting my lunch, then walking into the cafeteria and seeing so many kids holding Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in one hand and eating their food in the other. It's like today in 2016 when you go out and you see everyone on Pokemon Go trying to catch Pokemon. It was like that back then, except with Sorcerer's Stone. It was that huge. The book series had a humongous impact on people, and it was inevitable that they would become movies. And in my opinion, it is actually my favorite fantasy world, just next to Star Wars. I love the Harry Potter universe. I've been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios. It was so cool to walk through Diagon Alley and see all those amazing shops. That was one of the most fun experiences in my entire life. So let's talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This was directed by Chris Columbus, the man behind the first two Home Alone films, as well as the first two Harry Potter films. Interesting connection with this shirt that I'm wearing. The score was composed beautifully by John Williams. He made an awesome theme that still today gets played through Universal Studios every single day. Any kid or adult walks through there and you hear that awesome music. It brings you back to that wonderful place. This is a universe that I haven't really discussed that much on my channel, but I did marry the biggest Harry Potter fan I've ever seen. My wife adores Harry Potter, and she has schooled me on a lot of Harry Potterisms and a lot of Harry Potter stuff, and I knew eventually I was going to be talking about these movies. So they cast Daniel Radcliffe as young Harry Potter. Now we have the privilege today of having seen all the Harry Potter films, and we know that that was an excellent choice. But even in Sorcerer's Stone, this kid gave a really good performance at such a young age. Rupert Grint as Ronald Weasley, Emma Watson as Hermione. These three characters and these three actors are one of the biggest reasons these films were so successful, but we'll get more into that as we talk about the other films. In Sorcerer's Stone, we got to see these three characters come together, and it's really a joy to see. Even rewatching this film after so many years, it brought such a big smile on my face to see these three characters meet each other for the first time. They did such a great job casting this entire film, especially Alan Rickman as Snape, who is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in all the Harry Potter films. You get this great feeling of dark, slimy intensity. He just pulled it off so well, and Rickman, rest in peace. This is one of your best roles. Something that surprised me rewatching this movie that I forgot about is just how much of a slimeball Draco is. I completely forgot how horrible that kid is. This kid is the worst of the worst, and you spend the entire series absolutely loathing this kid. But in the first two movies, in Sorcerer's Stone in particular, this kid is such a little ass. I mean, you just want to take him and slap him. On the flip side, Maggie Smith in this movie, you just want to take her and you just want to sit down and you want her to tell you a story. I said this in my review for Hook. That makeup in Hook was so good. I always thought she was like 95 years old. In Sorcerer's Stone, I was like, oh, okay, she's not Granny Wendy all the time. She just has this voice and this aura around her that just welcomes you. And that's one of my favorite things about this first Harry Potter film, Hogwarts. It made me want to be a wizard. It was like the greatest school you could go to, learning all these spells and incantations and potions, the Quidditch matches. The idea of this school even being real came from the mind of J.K. Rowling, and she created such an awesome universe. The introduction to Hagrid also, there are so many scenes with Hagrid that just make me want to tear up. He's just the greatest, lovable, giant oaf. You just want to squeeze him. It's just Hagrid. He's so great. Hagrid. I love Hagrid. So that's me gushing about the introduction to all these characters and the fact that they just got the casting so right. That's one of the best things about Sorcerer's Stone. The behind the scenes work, all of it coming together was just pitch perfect. There are issues with this movie though. It's not a perfect movie. It's by far not my favorite Harry Potter film. It's cool to see all these characters coming together, but there are moments in the movie where it feels as if it's meandering a bit. There are a lot of parts of this film that do feel like a setup movie. A lot of exposition, a lot of explaining, a lot of, here's this, Harry, Harry, here's this, Harry. Here are these people, Harry. Here's this thing. Here's where you do this. And I get it. There are obviously a ton of other books and a ton of other movies that came out after this. But this movie does struggle with the idea of telling a story and being one movie while also setting up a ton of other movies. We've seen that a lot today with the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe, all types of movies that are always setting up other movies. This film struggles with that a little bit on rewatch because the second act does meander a bit. It's a very long film, and after every character is introduced, the film kind of goes through the motions for a while until we pick up again with a cave troll sequence, which is a lot of fun, and of course the finale with the chess match and the various challenges these characters go through, and all three of them have to band together to use their talents to get out of a really horrible situation. All of that is a lot of fun, but the film does take a while to feel like it's getting someplace. For instance, it takes 98 minutes before the Sorcerer's Stone is even mentioned. And that's a little long. I mean, that takes quite a bit, and I get it. They gotta set up this world, they have to set up these characters, and that's one of the biggest struggles of this movie, because not only is it trying to be an entertaining movie, it has to set up a lot, and that is a bit of a hindrance upon rewatch all these years later. Also, the Quidditch sequences, while fun, are a bit dated. The full human body CGI just wasn't quite up to par yet. It was a bit Matrix Reloaded-y, you know, balloon people, and it just didn't quite work, and it doesn't really hold up all these years later. Which brings me to one of my biggest praises of this movie, the practical costumes, particularly when they're going to the bank. These costumes are fantastic, and it was so nice to see some practical costume work in this movie. There's a fun sequence in the Forbidden Forest, and my favorite parts of this movie are those sequences that are just touching darkness, that feel like hinting at the future of Harry Potter and the fact that Hogwarts is going to be a place in which some serious struggle is going to go down. I love the sequences that hint at that more dark, fantastical element that we later get in the Harry Potter films. And that's one of my favorite things about Sorcerer's Stone, is that fantasy element. As I said, it's such an inviting movie. I love the idea of this place existing and all of these kids learning magic. It's such a cool fantasy film. It's a heartwarming, inviting fantasy film that families can enjoy, and I think Sorcerer's Stone did a really good job in setting up the Harry Potter universe while also being an entertaining movie. It's a little off and on in the second act, and it does take a while to get to that plot really starting, but once that ending hits and you learn a little more about Voldemort and you realize some things about him, it sets up the future installments very well. And I love the fact that Harry Potter comes to this world and is already famous because he is that boy who lived, who escaped Voldemort, the man who can't be named. And it does set up a surprising amount of tension between Harry Potter and Voldemort, despite the fact that Voldemort basically isn't even in this movie. And that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna give Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone a B+. Guys, I can't wait to talk about the future Harry Potter films. Chamber of Secrets is coming up very soon. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.